You burn this way. You know.
Alright, so we talked about cellular life a little bit. Internal environment is where your cells live, each cell bounded by a cell membrane. The inside of the cell contains intracellular fluid. So notice when we're in this first lesson, we're learning a lot of prefixes, suffixes. Sorry, that's me. No, it was not me. Uh, so intra would mean inside, and if you were to hear extra, that means outside, towards the exterior. And so we're going to talk about different terms. So human cells become specialized by the process of cellular differentiation, and different cell types like muscle cells or nerve cells are going to respond to certain signals. And cooperation among cells requires that they need to communicate to each other. And this is going to require specialized molecules of the membrane called membrane receptors. And we'll kind of talk about that kind of very lightly with the endocrine system. We're not going to delve as much into the details as a traditional academic science. It's more of just a survey. So we want to understand basics so that we have that foundation. Because you can't build a house without the foundation, right?
Sure.
You could, but it's still break down.
True that. Gotta have a basement.
See.
Just keep taking.
I'm saying, that's a foundation, ain't it? A base.
There would be a foundation under.
Under.
The base.
Well, like, that's how learning works. You learn your base, and then you have your basement, and then you have your house, and then you have the roof that you can stand on top of.
Whatever helps you, that's it. Yeah, that's probably
That was dark.
the roofs. Okay.
That's you.
Patrick, who?
Nobody.
All right. So homeostasis is a self-regulating process. I just want you to be familiar with it. It's all about balance inside of the body. So biological systems have to maintain stability while adjusting to changing external conditions. And so homeostasis is primarily controlled by the nervous system and endocrine systems working together to provide that steady internal environment. So everything's going to have specific set points for what is normal in the body, certain set point or range, because everybody's going to differ a little bit for blood pressure, body temperature. And the way that these interact is through the nervous system, which are going to detect changes and send nerve impulses to counteract kind of disruption. The endocrine system secretes hormones into the blood, and this is going to help with many various different functions, like blood sugar. Have to maintain certain levels, right? So for systems to maintain homeostasis, cells have to signal other cells when their internal environment has been compromised so that an adjustment can be made. And when instability has been corrected, then those signals are no longer necessary. So these are homeostatic mechanisms. They work through a form of cell-to-cell communication called a feedback loop. Yes, I am. Just talk about how-
It's
Oh, it may not be in the book. It's not in the book. Okay. So it's not gonna be a test question. This is just love to help. Yes.
Makes you more round.
Did someone spray?
Spray or hand sanitizer.
Don't believe that.
No, it's just, yeah, if it gets a lot stronger, I'm gonna be coughing up.
Smell it.
Them from the class. I wouldn't need to.
It's preferred to other smells.
Yes.
So,
Alright,
Somebody got some
here,
beef?
everyone stated.
all right. Come back. All right. So when we talk about pathology, we'll talk about cause, mechanism, and manner of death. All right. Cause of death is always going to be the physiological derangement that results in death of the body or disrupted homeostasis. Right. For example. All right, a gunshot victim. All right, somebody shot. The cause of death is still going to be, or it could be, the blood pressure that dropped when all of that blood loss happened. So it's still a homeostatic imbalance that was actually the cause of death. The mechanism of death was bleeding out. The manner of death is going to be suicide, homicide, or maybe an accident. So we'll differentiate between that, but cause of death is what, and we're a coroner system, so it just really depends. Because I've seen everybody has their go-to for what they're going to put on the death certificate, but you're supposed to say like the actual cause. I've seen on a death certificate the cause of death psychological problems. I was like,
What?
it was put on the death certificate. And that, that's the downside of having coroner systems. It can be a very good thing, but they are just elected officials, and a lot of the time they just stay in that role. And so relying on them, that's why, you kind of lean more towards the medical examiner, kind of have a split system. Yeah. So important to know your cause of death,
At least they don't put.
especially if you want to be a death investigator.
That would be.
And then the manner of death, I don't know what they put. Right. Negative feedback systems coming back. Homeostasis. So reinforced through feedback loops. Negative feedback loops, positive feedback loops. Negative feedback systems are going to reverse the original stimulus. Right? So negative would be like opposite of what the stimulus was. So, for example, you're outside and it's cold outside, sub-freezing. So your body temperature, if it decreases, then your body is going to respond with shivering, which is going to produce body heat. That movement does, which is going to increase the body temperature to try to get you back to normal. Same as if you're outside and it's hot, your body temperature starts to increase, the cooling mechanism of sweating is going to occur. And as that sweat dries and evaporates, cool your body and bring you back to normal set. Now, there's going to be many different examples. So those are just the easiest to remember, the body temperature for a negative feedback system. So if you're cold, your body wants you to warm up. So opposite, right? A positive feedback system is going to enhance the stimulus. So, for example, childbirth, right? So those stretch receptors of the cervix recognize that there's movement. Baby is trying to come through, for simplification right now. And they're going to send that stimulus to the brain, which is going to release oxytocin, which is going to increase the contractions, which is going to send a signal to the brain to release oxytocin to have more contractions until that baby is born. And then, it's accomplished, right? Same with breastfeeding. So if the baby suckles at the nipple, that's going to send signal to the brain to release oxytocin and it has Latin in the name. No, but I do like that you use
Lactate.
prolactin. Prolactin. Anyways, it signals to the brain and milk will come out, and as long as the baby's suckling at the nipple, it's gonna enhance that stimulus until the baby stops, and mission accomplished. That's not the best ways. Anyway.
Mission accomplished.
And that's an ideal way of how it works.
It's not always how it works.
The baby is fed. All right, so disruption of homeostasis leads to disease, disorder, or death. A lot of these, depending on your publisher, depending on the textbook, they're used, they're intertwined a lot. Typically, a disorder would be any abnormality of structure or function. A disease is more specific term for an illness. It's characterized by
Bliss.
Olivia said, "Bless, please, thank you very much."
I thought you were gonna say.
Bliss.
Diseases are more specific. It's because I usually don't talk that much. So when I'm lecturing, my body's like, what are you doing? So my throat's getting dry. Characterized by a recognizable set of signs and symptoms. Signs can be observed or measured. So you can take your temperature, and if there's a fever, that would be a sign. But if you have a headache from your fever, that would be a symptom, because I can't look at Katrina and say, you look like you're not, well, you look like you're, well, thanks to human expression, you know, you can convey these things, but I can't measure, you know, your temperature by looking at it. You know, you just have to measure that. So signs can be observed: fever, rash, and symptoms, changes that wouldn't be apparent to the observer. So you can say that you're in pain, and I can believe you, but you know, I can't know what level of pain you're having. That's why they have a pain scale, and they're like, which number are you between 1 and 10? And I've always thought that was kind of weird, but it's like, because I don't know, am I a 4 or a 6? Like after I gave birth, they were like, on a scale of 10, what's your pain? I'm like, well, I still have that epidural leaving my body. Maybe a 4, when in reality, my 4 makes somebody else's 8. Anyways, that don't matter. What was your question, Maya?
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say what you was gonna say about how like hate is different for each person.
Mhm. Yeah. Everybody has different tolerances. And so pain is a symptom. Nausea is a symptom. A headache is a symptom. Things that I can't tell just by looking at someone unless they convey that. All right, then we have local diseases versus systemic diseases. This is not test material. A local disease, local means like one limited area. When you're a local, right, that's typically like small town kind of thing. Whereas systemic diseases are going to affect the entire body or entire system or several parts. All right. Okay, all types of living organisms are going to share fundamental characteristics of life. So this includes the ability for us to grow and reproduce, to respond to our surroundings, produce movement through change in body position, or the motion of internal organs and other physiological needs. So we gain energy by ingesting, digesting, absorbing nutrients in food, and the absorbed substances circulate our internal environment of our bodies. So we use the energy in these nutrients for vital functions like growth and repair, and then we excrete the wastes, whether we breathe out respiratory gases, whether it's excreted through the digestive system or the urinary system, or sweat, like sweating. There's lots of different ways we get waste. So taken together, the physiological events that obtain, release, and use energy are a major part of metabolism, which refers to the collection of chemical reactions in cells that support life. This is going to include respiration, taking in oxygen, giving off carbon dioxide, digestion, circulation, and excretion. And all of these are going to go back to the characteristics of life. So growth and development, the ability to reproduce, have offspring, heredity. So going down to our DNA, homeostasis, maintaining internal balance, metabolism is that rate at which all of our cellular energy is being produced, working, not the way it's sweated. We all have cellular activity going on. We all have the ability to respond to the environment. It's also just flow. Okay. Now you gotta know this stuff.
Wonderful.
All right, so anatomical position. Anybody know anatomical position?
Where your body and your hands laying face down,
Right.
upright. That's what it's
You
like.
said face down.
I meant laying face down and upright. What is it? Superior, lateral, what's that mess?
Those are our terms. Okay, so coming back to anatomical position, because every term I say is referring back to anatomical position of the body. All right, so the body on the table, although it is not standing up, if I say superior region, it's going to be towards the head because we're referencing anatomical position, which is where a body would be standing, feet flat on the ground, palms palms facing forward, head upright. So if I ask you, is the, or if I ask you, let's say, or if I tell you the thumb is lateral to the pinky, all right? We're referring to anatomical position because that thumb is to the side and your pinky is going towards the center of the body. You need to know that. I may ask you what artery is lateral to the leg. Is the vein superficial or deep to this? You know, got to know these terms. So everything is referenced in anatomical position. Yeah, we also have reclining position. So if a body is face up, that body is in supine position. This is position that deceased will be in while we're embalming. But you know, you need to know this terminology. You're working with coroners, deputy coroners, medical examiners, and you may hear terms like the body prone position. You know, when we found it, that's why that liver vortex has settled into the anterior part of the body. Okay, so prone, we face down, supine, face up. And then we have anatomical planes. So these are imaginary lines that divide the body or an organ into different parts. So we call them body planes.
There we go. Yes, we're back.
I'll take it. So the sagittal plane divides the body into two left and right sides. So if I have, I think I should put my skeleton in. So if I'm standing right here, took an imaginary line and went right here, straight down my body. All right, then that's a sagittal line separating left and right. Now, if you were to say a mid-sagittal line,
Really?
yeah, that's transverse. So we're gonna come to that. I know. The mid-sagittal, sagittal is up and down, vertical plane.
Okay.
Mid-sagittal is median, so directly straight down the middle. So sagittal is vertical. Mid-sagittal, vertical line down the middle, divides the body into equal halves, left and right. Now, when we say left and right, we're going back to anatomical position. So my left, if you're looking at me, if I'm in anatomical position, right?
Wait. Remember the sagittal? The sagittal is not directly cut down the middle.
No,
So it was
Mid-sagittal,
mid-sag. So like say if I cut right down through here.
that's a sagittal plane.
Okay. That makes more sense.
It's any vertical.
And so mid-sagittal, also known as medial plane, is where we get bilateral symmetry. Did you have a question?
Sagittal, it's just like to the body. Somebody cut
Yes, in the left and right.
Yeah.
Yes. Very important, sagittal left and right. Okay. Because that's where we get bilateral symmetry. Right. And this is where I like to play word association. Okay. So when you're in an anatomy student, science is not your strong suit. Test wise, we just use word association. Okay. What does bi mean? All right. And then when we talk, we're about to learn lateral, that means side. So sides, symmetrical. Y'all know what symmetrical means in the crew? If you were to cut down the middle, I have a right eye, I have a left eye. I have a right arm, I have a left arm. My right side looks like my left side, right?
That's what we said about asymmetrical, mean the high waffle company of
Mhm. Yeah, so asymmetrical would not have that balance. And then we have the frontal or the coronal plane. Did Mr. Hurt remember the coronal suture last week? No.
He said you would.
Later on, but yeah. All right, so it's just easier to remember when you have that visual. So, yeah. So you have different sutures or joints that hold bones together. So you have a coronal suture. Coronal means like the front. So that would be like frontal, because this is your frontal bone. So coronal suture for the frontal bone. But when I say that referencing, this is why I ordered a skeleton. It's the old one. All right. So. So when I say frontal or coronal, that's if I were to divide the body into front and back portions. And then we have the cross plane or the transverse plane or the horizontal plane, all the same thing. So transverse is horizontal. It's dividing something into top and bottom parts. All right, here's the fun part. All right,
Lord.
this is why last week, because we're about to have a quiz, I don't want anybody to get mad at me. I said detailed reading is after 2 weeks. All right. Directional terms. So we have medial versus lateral. And so we're talking about body parts in relation to each other. All right. My heart is medial to my lungs, right? Because the lungs are lateral on either side. My nose is medial to my eye. So medial meaning towards the middle, lateral meaning towards the side. My ear is lateral to my. Then we have superior versus inferior. So superior means towards the top, all right? Towards the head, I should say. If I'm doing a handstand and I say my head is superior to my feet, it still means towards the head, or my shoulders are superior to my knees, towards the head. Also known as cranial, towards the head, because your cranium. Also cephalic. Cephalic refers to the head. If you ever hear of like hydrocephalus, that's like water, the brain, right? And then that opposite of that is inferior. It's feet. It's also, it should be caudal, but not really for humans, because caudal means kind of like the tail, like we were like studying an animal. So superior versus inferior. Right? If somebody feels they're superior to you, think they're higher than you, they're on top. All right. And then we have anterior versus posterior. Anterior is towards the front, also known as ventral. So you have ventral organs in the front of your body. All right. And then we have posterior or dorsal. So think of a shark. What's that fin?
Dorsal fin.
The dorsal fin towards the back.
Right.
Posterior. All right. And then we have superficial versus deep. superficials towards the surface. All right, the best example is thinking like something, the skin.
Straightening.
Yeah. Patrick. Yes, it's
Everybody's back.
toward the surface. Could also be external, could also be peripheral.
I mean, with veins, that's what you.
Yeah, and so when we're studying embalming, and I say the artery is superficial to the vein, then that means when you're dissecting into the body, you're gonna see the artery first, because it's superficial. That's why we need to know this. All right, versus deep. I think you'll see this, especially if there's like, if there's like a medical report, like, they're describing certain like wounds, things like that. It could be or inside, central, internal. And then we have parietal versus visceral. This is just going to help us understand anatomy. Parietal is referring to body walls. Visceral, you'll know what viscera means. Organs. So if you get an autopsy case and all the organs are in a bag, that's the viscera bag. So visceral is referring to the actual organs. Let's see, what else we got? We got proximal versus distal. This is referring to points of attachment. All right. So when we study the body, when we talk about the skeletal system, you have the axis of the body, which is the head and the trunk. Then you have the appendicular skeleton, your appendages or your extremities, and that's what attaches to the center or the axis of the body. So when you're talking about terms like proximal and distal, you're talking in reference to attachment to the body. So proximal means towards the point of attachment. It's in proximity. You've heard that. I gotta take my medicine. Yeah. Proximal versus distal. Distal would be going a distance, right? So my elbow is proximal to my wrist. Okay. My knee is proximal to my ankle. My ankle is proximal to my toes, because everything's coming back to the body. Toes are distal to my ankle because they're further away from the point of attachment. My hand is distal. Okay. And then we have prone versus supine. Prone would be face down, but also this is how muscles are named. You have supinators, supinators, and that's going to turn palm up. Pronator muscle is going to turn it palm down. So that's why knowing these little words can help us. You'll also have muscles named levators and depressors. Levators is going to raise, depress is going to lower. Others. We'll get into those. I'm not going to get too far into that right now. Yeah.
Go over this and the other one.
Which one?
Proximal
Proximal and distal, peripheral and central. Okay, what did you say? I have terrible hearing.
Visceral and
Parietal.
yeah.
Okay, parietal is referring to body walls. If I say the parietal surface, we're referencing because so our cavities are hollow. We have hollow contents in them. And so you're going to have body walls. So imagine, if you will, an autopsy case. So you have the body on the table. They do a wide incision. They open the abdominopelvic cavity. You're going to have body walls in the thoracic and abdominopelvic cavity. So parietal is referring to that. Visceral is referring to the organs, the visceral organs. Technically, it would just be viscera. Anyways, visceral referring to organ. All right, and we're just learning words right now. And we're going to put them together. inform the human body and be able to describe it. You know, and if somebody calls you and you're trying to figure out, because you don't want to be like, for example, okay, you're going into surgery, all right? You know that I'm going to have surgery on my left knee. I want them to know which left it is, right? Is it your left or my left? You know, like it's always referring back to anatomical physics. You could have somebody call and they're trying to figure out, you know, what direction something is, and you just say, you know, it's lateral or it's towards the middle would be the informal. All right, so not in practice, you know, not going to use them like that, but it's important for us to understand that so we communicate with medical professionals, things like that. And all right, coming back to body cavities. I'm trying to figure out the set. So you have dorsal cavities and ventral cavities. What does ventral mean? Towards the front, ventral or anterior, dorsal
To the back.
to the back. What would be a dorsal cavity? They're up here.
Here's one.
Cranial cavity, spinal cavity, that's towards the back, right?
You said, so it's anterior?
Dorsal is towards the back, anterior is towards the front.
Like a shark fin.
Dorsal, like a shark fin on the back. Dorsal is posterior. Ventral is anterior.
So every like all workings like up here in this area that would be posterior.
No.
Not posterior.
Here's the thing, okay, so. My heart is posterior to my sternum. But my heart is ventral to my spine or anterior to my spine. So we're just describing the location.
What do they mean?
That's what I was.
I don't know how to explain.
This
Okay,
is.
so my heart is posterior to my sternum. What does posterior mean?
Above.
That's all. Superior.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, superior.
But it.
So my heart is superior to my stomach. Yeah, it's just how we describe.
I know.
It's a good track. Here's the like something. Color.
They do something called that.
So the heart would be like.
Yeah, it's $45.
They making this stuff too.
It's not, yeah, it's not too complicated. We're just using descriptors, okay? My is and to my people, you know, like supervision. We're just describing location.
And now you're gonna quit this.
We don't have to see anything.
Listen.
All right, come back. So, coming back to quizzes and things, it's not as high stakes as you learn more when you make a mistake than when you get it right every time. Okay, so my quizzes are not high stakes. Okay, just practicing basically, and we just give a grade, you know, but it's very low stakes. You could drop grade. Lots of things. So we will be doing a quiz today, okay? But I don't want anybody to get upset. You know, you'll learn from your mistakes, okay?
I've made a lot of mistakes this week.
What was your question, Maya? Oh, most of the time, yeah. We will have a quiz after lecture, but you'll have to read it. You know, like you'll have a week to read it, and we lecture it, talk about it, and then you quiz. You know, just how it is. All right, coming back to additional body cavities. And I also want to encourage you, if you're still not understanding it, okay, so you do the reading, you're like, it's nothing to me, okay? So go to YouTube, watch Hank Green, pull up anatomy videos.
Watch who?
Hank Green, Crash Course Anatomy.
Oh, yeah, crash courses.
Yeah, he's
Right.
really good. All right. So if you're that kind of learner and he has all these graphics and things, you could do that. There's so many tools at your disposal.
Yeah.
Like when I went to Mississippi State, I took a psychology class. There was no textbook. I showed up and he spoke to me, and then I left. And I came back and I had a 40-question true false. Like everything. Take note. Like, you have to meet demands of the courses that you're in. Y'all don't realize how easy you got. I
Amen.
promise. I promise. I remember that dial-up internet. Like the noise that it made.
Oh, yes.
And then nobody can use the phone if you're on the computer. Y'all don't know how lucky you got it. Okay, let's use our resources.
Oh, I used to go with that, but it's like be.
Yes. So, and if you still are unclear, let me know and I will do what I can to help you. But it's okay to not know something and not understand it, because that's what we're here.
So we learn.
That's how we learn. Like my little 7-year-old, she'll start crying. She'll be like mad. She's trying to do a math question and she doesn't understand it.
I don't blame you.
And I'm like, listen, it's okay. That's why we go to school. You don't know yet. That's what you're going to school for. That's how we do it. Problem solved. Okay. Additional body cavities. All right. So we had, I forgot to go over it. All right. Coming back. Cranial cavity is going to house the brain. Spinal cavity is going to house spinal cord. All right. All right. So those are your dorsal cavities because they're towards the back. And then we have our ventral cavities, which are anterior or towards the front. All right. So you have a thoracic cavity, which is the chest, the thorax. All right. It's going to house, pay attention, the mediastinum, which is going to hold those central structures, heart. And then you have pleural cavities that are going to hold the lungs. Pleura is always referring to the lungs. I've ever heard somebody had like pleurisy. That's a lung illness, very painful. Very painful. It's when the lung, like the membrane sticks to the chest cavity. It's very painful every time you breathe. I thought it was something else that had pleura in it. And then even within the mediastinum, you'll have a pericardial cavity that's gonna heart. So all these words mean something. So media, referring to medial, pleural, referring to the lungs. Peri means around. Cardial, referring to the heart, cardia. So around the heart. Diaphragm, pay attention. Pay attention. What separates the thoracic cavity, the chest, from the abdominopelvic cavity? A parachute-shaped muscle called the diaphragm. If you ever hear something referred to as phrenic, P-H-R-E-N-I-C, like your phrenic nerve or something, that's referring to something supplying the diaphragm. That diaphragm separates the chest cavity from the abdominopelvic cavity. So the abdominopelvic cavity will house the abdominal cavity, holding your abdominal organs, and the pelvic cavity housing your reproductive organs, any kind of your bladder, things, pelvis region, which is that bowl holds your bladder, and internal structures. Okay. Abdo, referring to abdominal, right? Pelvic, referring to the pelvic cavity. All of these little suffixes, prefixes, root words mean something. And so this lesson is very intimidating for people that haven't taken an anatomy class. And it's silly because in high school, anatomy oftentimes is an elective. Biology is what everybody takes. And so it's okay if you don't know what the words mean. We're gonna learn them and then you'll succeed in our study. Additional body cavities would be the peritoneal cavity. I need to pull my shirt up, not my button. My pants. You missed that. Peritoneal cavity, or peritoneum. So you may not be able to see it. So this is going to cover over and around a lot of the organs of the abdominopelvic cavity. Peritoneal, referred to the peritoneum, which is going to cover your visceral organs. And then we have a retroperitoneal. It's gonna, anyways, we don't need to go far into it. Okay. Other body cavities. Remember, if I say something about the oral cavity, what am I talking about?
Mouth.
Your mouth, right? Another word for that would be buccal.
You.
Yeah, like a bugle, like a.
I'm gonna eating chips.
Yeah, it's like your buccinator, which is your cheek muscles. That's what that's referring to. Buxel? Right, I'll look up the pronunciation, but yeah, it's like they're taking the swab and doing your cheek. That's that. Oral. Is it buxel? Anyway, I looked up the pronunciation, I forgot. Nasal would be referring to the nasal cavity. Orbital, eye sockets. Orbits, eyes. All right, and then we have different types of membranes. So membranes are thin tissues that cover, line, partisan, which means like, imagine the partisan in a limousine divide something, driver from the back seat. I think that's a typo. Anyways, connecting. We have parietal layers that are going to line the walls of cavities. We have visceral layers that are going to cover and adhere to organs. We have serous fluid. So everything in our body, as we walk, is shifting. We have to have fluid to reduce friction. Because if you keep rubbing something against each other, what's going to happen?
They're gonna catch on fire. Friction causes fire.
That's all you are correct. It would erode. It would
Oh, yeah. that's
break
fair.
it down. That's how, Grand Canyon was made, right? Movement of water. But so serous fluid, this is going to help reduce that friction. It allows your organs to kind of slide while we move, without, getting rearranged. All right. And then we have, and then some various other structures. All right. Pleura. These are the sacs that surround the lungs. Pericardium would be like a serous membrane covering the surface of the heart. Because what's your heart do? Pumping. You got to have something to reduce that friction. Peritoneum covers the abdominal viscera. Retroperitoneal. Retro. It's not retro.
It's old.
Way back, like
Way back.
throwback. So, behind the parietal peritoneum. So your kidneys are retroperitoneal because they're towards the back. All right. Lots of words. Right. I don't make you memorize these until next year.
Oh,
Correct.
that's so kind.
Yeah.
Oh, ain't it?
No, I did. Sorry, guys.
Oh.
That's really
You
easy.
do have to memorize them. I forgot I started that last year. Because
Well,
they would get
well,
so
then
involved
restart
and they wouldn't know. So you gotta learn.
There's
Well,
a
they're
game,
full.
there's a game online because I took anatomy, took survey anatomy
Mhm.
1, 2, and at Northwestern, there's a game. I'll find it.
You should. It's very important. And remember, we're referring to anatomical position. Right hypochondriac. All right. Right. Referring to anatomical position, right side. Hypo, below, chondriac, chondro, ribs. Right. Right. Behind the ribs. Right. Epi means above or around. Gastric means stomach. So above the stomach, right? It's, your stomach's really close to your heart. Right, so a lot of times it's gastric, you have that pain, right, like they call it heart, even though it's not your heart. Left behind the ribs region. Then we have right lumbar, lower back region, umbilical region,
Belly button.
Yeah.
Umbilical.
left lumbar. Then we have right iliac, with that iliac crest on your hips. You might also see it as right inguinal. It could be either one. Take it.
Check that.
I'm gonna take it. Almost done. Right iliac or right inguinal. The ligament that holds your leg to your body, inguinal. Hypo gastric, below stomach. So have that middle one that's umbilical. And then left iliac or inguinal. So, not to mention what those are. Those are the 9 regions of the abdomen. So that's
There's only 6 in the book.
this come. Where?
No. Wait, my bad, bro. Hold on.
Okay.
Wait, look.
Yes, it does only list 6, but
Oh, it's left and right.
Yeah.
Come on here. Come on here.
the lateral.
Yeah.
Where do you find this?
It's on page 80. It's
So
under.
This whole chapter is 11 pages, and this is all this. There's a ton of.
So,
We have to know that for cavity involvement.
so,
So basically, the only. Yeah, it makes sense, because so it's just.
Yeah.
It doesn't, it's not one term.
yeah.
Yeah. Go by, just look up 9 regions of the abdomen. Right, so the way that we look at abdomen, this is important for cavity involvement, because you need to know where something is located. Cecum is the right inguinal region. The cecum is the first part of the colon, the large intestine, where that solid waste gets packed. And if you don't keep that cavity involvement, you're gonna have a green outline of a colon. So certain things you need to know, some organs are gonna be both regions. I can't remember at the moment with other specific ones you would want to know. Like a pregnant uterus would be hypogastric region because it's actually lower. And then there's also the 4 quadrants, quad being 4. And you would want to know that the lower right quadrant is where the first discoloration of decomposition occurred. Over that cecum. Greenish yellow discoloration.
Square.
Yeah.
Would you, the quadrants left, right, or right, to left?
I don't ever ask left and right. I just do upper and left. Oh, wait. Yeah, I do ask left. Sorry. Yeah,
So,
anatomical position. The body is left and right. Is that what you were asking?
No, yeah.
All right. Fun term.
Lord.
Fun terms. I'm trying to speed up so I can quiz. I've never lectured this long. Okay.
sorry.
Yeah. All right.
Ask questions.
Tells you how hard it is.
Great job. Abdominal. What is that referred to?
Comey.
Abdomen.
Oh, your abs.
Good job. Abdomen.
What is it?
Oh my goodness. Abdominal cavity. All right. Antecubital. Anterior.
That's here.
Cubital. Antecubital. Cubital is right here. Yeah. Axillary. Armpit. Brachial.
Yeah.
Arm.
Arm.
All right, gotta know that. If I ask you about your biceps,
You gotta be strong.
it could be your biceps brachii or it could be your biceps femoris. Biceps just means 2 by 2 divisions.
So it's it.
Brachial means arm, the whole arm. Just
So it's
referring to the
tricep.
arm.
There's
Break your
like the other. Tricep.
Tri, it just means 3 divisions. And we'll talk about that in the left. So you have your triceps, your biceps, you got quadriceps, anyways. Do that later. All right. Now what's up? This is block for people. Right, or oral, that's mouth. Somebody said.
Now,
Alright, the cat,
The lower leg.
Yeah.
lower leg, not a cow. Carpal,
The ribs.
everybody.
Hey.
Palate. Cervical, neck. The cervix is the neck of uterus. Okay, we'll come back to that. Cranial,
Skull.
specifically the back of the head that's gonna house the brain. Cuteness.
Ian.
Yes.
Cute name.
Uh,
Accurate.
Digital,
Fingertip.
fingers, facial, femoral,
Your leg.
thigh,
Femoral artery.
But,
facial,
but,
yes, flat, groin,
Groin.
you're going.
Groin is groin.
this region, inguinal,
Feet. So,
lumbar,
back.
nasal, occipital, right there.
That's what you're on? Oh,
That's typical.
That's right.
What did I do earlier? Cranial. Okay, yeah. Occipital bone, back. That's
Crossman. Those were-
opposite, ophthalmic or orbital.
On the eyes.
Palmar, pelvic. Star.
The back of your knee.
Popliteal.
The knee.
Behind the knee. Ain't that behind the knee?
Yeah, your popliteal artery. Pubic.
Well, what depends on-
General
what
area.
is, hold on. Hold on.
Where we going at? Yeah. Tarsal,
Ankle.
ankle,
I'm drunk.
temporal. Right, so the temporal region actually like, it goes down around your ears. Thoracic, chest. Who said throat? That's something else.
I said throat.
That's thorax.
No, thorax is chest.
I
Uh,
thought it was thorax.
Oh,
That's the belly.
ankles. No way, is it your feet bones?
Actually,
I got y'all booked.
tarsal is the ankle. Tarsal is the ankle.
Yeah, medical. Umbilical.
Navel area.
And
Belly button. Okay, coming back.
The lower pelvis.
Which one?
pubic
I'm gonna get
pelvic
one, but I can.
Pubic. All right, who's got their book?
It's on page 9.
Pubic.
Yeah,
Look, what's the
Not
thing?
pubic, it's genitals. What's the other one? Groin, where the thigh meets the trunk. So it's still like, you know, this is your groin area. But inguinal, like your inguinal ligament. What's the other one?
Pelvic.
Pelvic, the lower part of the trunk. Abdomen, abdomen, and the bone. The bone,
You go towards the pelvis when you move.
yeah.
Let's go, let's.
All right.
You were at umbilical.
Are that all of them?
Yeah.
Yeah. Any questions? We gotta go in this.
Term fix gonna be on the list.
Something.
Can we use our notes?
No.
With it being.
The first two quizzes are the hardest. Get used to it.
Are the hardest?
Well, that's the first, well,
Yeah.
Everything.
you get more into the groove.
Are you ready or you're not? You're ready or you're not?
So when's our, yeah.
If you're not, you get ready.
I'm gonna stop this recording while
Hey, can you tell us?
I think.